Hello, everybody. I just wanted to pop in here with a quick little video about the Astra Midseason Awards. So these have not happened yet. Their nominations, I believe, are going to be announced relatively soon. Sadly, we do not have an exact date that the nominations were supposed to come out. But last year they came out on July 1st, which it would be really convenient if they could do it again this year, unless they want to try to get it on the last day of June. But I do think it makes a certain amount of sense to wait because there were a lot of big movies that came out at the very end of June. And just to quickly refresh, for anyone who doesn't know what these are, the Astra Mid-Season Awards are an awards meant to celebrate movies from the first half of the year, from January to June. And I consider this kind of a precursor, even though it's not really one, because we have no idea what's coming out the second half of the year. And there have been some years where not a single movie released in the first half of the year went on to receive a Best Picture nomination. I believe we've actually had this award show for the past 6 years. In the first 3 years, 2019, 2020, 2021, there was no Best Picture nominee in the original lineup. But then 2022 happened, and we got Everything Everywhere, Top Gun Maverick, and Elvis. 3 eventual Best Picture nominees from the first half of the year. And then the following year, we got Past Lives, and then the year after that, we got Dune Part 2. So, I think... Okay, so here's what's tricky about the whole thing. It is very, very easy to figure out what movie from the first half of 2025 is going to win the top prize at the Mid-Season Awards. There's only one movie that's reasonably in the contention for a Best Picture nomination at the end of the year. And yet, despite that, the tricky part is figuring out what else is going to be nominated. Because Sinners is so far ahead of every other movie that came out this year, it's so difficult to figure out what else is even going to contend. So these are just guesses. I don't know for sure, and we'll see the nominations soon to see if I'm right. Also, this is not less of a precursor and more of a temperature check because we have no idea how well any of these movies are going to contend. Most of them probably aren't going to contend at all, my feeling is. But at the very least, this will give me a nice laundry list of movies to catch up on while I wait for the fall film festivals. So starting out with most anticipated film, I have Wicked, I have Superman, I have Fantastic Four. Those all feel easy. I feel like we should have one awards contender in here, and I put One Battle After Another. That's a bit less of a blockbuster, but I think it can happen. And then Avatar for slot number 5. I really don't know. This is all just guesswork. I think Joker Folie à Deux actually won this category last year, so this is not accurate in terms of what's actually going to be a good movie, but it's just sort of where people are most excited for. So after that, we have Best Stunts, a category that is going to be added to the Oscars in a few years, but not quite this year. So fun fact, this is the only category where Sinners is eligible that I don't have it winning, because it's up against both Mission Impossible and John Wick, 2 franchises that have done so much for the stunt industry. I feel like one of those has to win, even if these particular movies are not the most well acclaimed of the franchise. And then I think Thunderbolts and F1 are both fairly well liked enough that they're going to contend. Then we have Best Horror Film. Sinners far away in front. Companion, that's also very well liked. I think that should be getting a lot of love from the first half of the year. 28 Years Later, a genre film that seems to be getting a lot of support. And then there's Presence, which is more indie, but Steven Soderbergh. I've heard great things about that. And then, okay, I probably shouldn't have Megan 2.0 because from what I've heard, this movie isn't exactly a horror. And yet, I feel like it's going to be such a big hit that they're going to want to nominate it anyway. Number 6 is Bring Her Back, which is likely... I don't know. I just don't know if that one has a lot of attention on it. And what I've noticed is this particular guild really tend towards nominating movies that are more mainstream and less indie. So there are some maybe not as good movies that will get nominated in categories over indies that don't have as many eyeballs on them. Which is not to say that Megan 2.0 is not as good. Like, don't come at me. Best Indie, we do have a category for indie film. However, this one is really tricky to predict because I genuinely don't know what even counts as an indie film. I think these 5 films work, but I don't know what the budgetary restrictions for them are. It's possible I'm leaving something fairly obvious out that I just didn't realize counted as indie. But yeah, Sorry Baby, I'm Becoming Guinea Fowl, Presents, My Dead Friend Zoe, and The Ballad of Wallace Island. For Best Screenplay, Sinners, well in front, as you'll have to get used to. And then Life of Chuck. So this movie has been a bit of a disappointment at the box office, but I feel like there's just enough people who love it and are going to go to bat for it that it should at least do well here. I have no idea how well it's going to do at the actual Oscars, but I feel like it's so funny. This movie's festival buzz has faded, which tends to happen for the kind of movies that do well at a festival and then don't premiere until the following year. We saw something similar happen with Sing Sing, actually. Just because a movie gets a lot of love initially, that buzz can die down if you don't build on the momentum immediately. We also have Materialists, which I think is getting solid enough reviews. Mickey 17, which I know people were a little bit mixed on that, but I feel like Life of Chuck, it's got to do well here, if nowhere else. And then Sorry Baby, maybe I don't know, I just heard such good things about that screenplay, so I feel like they're going to have to nominate it. Supporting Actor. Okay, so this is interesting. We got the 3 guys from Sinners here, and depending on who wins this one is going to be a real indication of which of the Sinners boys they're going to push, either Delroy Lindo or Miles Catton. I think either one could be the push from the movie, but I think it's probably going to be Lindo because he's the more established actor. And Jack O'Connell, this might be one of the few nominations he gets all season long. Mark Hamill and Michael Cera, I think, round out this category nicely, although don't be surprised if one of the Materialist boys or Mark Ruffalo from Mickey 17 shows up instead. Supporting Actress, like with Supporting Actor, which of the 2 Sinners actresses are going to be the standout? Which one is going to get the bigger push in the actual award season? I'm thinking Mosaku for now, but if Steinfeld surprises, I wouldn't be shocked to see her pull a Jamie Lee Curtis and become the bigger push for the film. Mia Therapleton, Zoe Winters, who I heard great things about, Materialists, and then Karen Gillan, because I needed a 5th person. I was seriously debating putting Lee Jun Lee in there, but I'm like, do I really want to have 6 supporting people from Sinners nominated at the same time? I don't think I can, but it is not impossible. Then we have, for Best Actor, Michael B. Jordan. I have heard some speculation that this might be another award that Sinners could lose because Robert Pattinson is very beloved and his performance in Mickey 17 is seen as the highlight of the film, so keep an eye on that. But outside of them, I think Hiddleston... It's so weird. I actually don't know how big the role is because I read the short story and Hiddleston would only be in the 2nd third of the film, so I don't know if he's going to have a... But we'll see. Del Toro, I think, is probably solidly in there, and then Fassbender sounds like a good bet. I'm real curious about Jonathan Majors. I don't think they'll go for him, but everyone who's seen the movie is like, yeah, it's a very, very good performance. It's just not the kind of person we want to support right now. So we'll have to wait and see with that. Best Actress. The one category that doesn't have anybody from Sinners. I have Dakota Johnson, followed closely by Sophie Thatcher. I think either of them could potentially pull off the victory, but I really don't know. Blanchett, Victor, Hawkins, all I think... I've heard good things about the performances and I can see them getting in, but I don't think anybody from the first half of the year is going to actually contend for award season when all is said and done. And Florence Pugh is probably happening, but I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Best Director, Coogler is definitely winning. Flanagan, Bong Joon-ho, Anderson, and then Song. That seems to make sense to me, although Steven Soderbergh does have 2 movies between Black Bag and Presence, so he could show up for one of them. And I have heard some interesting stuff about 28 Years Later and Danny Boyle, so maybe that's a bigger contender than I have my eyes on. It happened just last year that, like, what was the movie with Ryan Gosling? The Fall Guy. That movie did so much better than anyone was expecting. It was the runner-up for Best Picture and Best Director, even though the mainstream audiences didn't really like it that much. So it's really weird that this specific guild chose to shower that movie with praise. And anyway, Best Picture. So 10 movies here, and I really don't know what's going to happen here. Okay, Sinners is obviously winning. Life of Chuck and Materialists, I think, are both well-liked enough. I said before, Life of Chuck and Mickey 17 are both movies that at one point in time seemed like they could connect with audiences in a big way, and neither one really has. But I feel like they can connect with just enough audiences that they make the top 10 of the first half of the year. Black Bag seems like a bit of a crowd pleaser. Thunderbolts feels like a crowd pleaser. They're going to want to nominate the action movie that's well-liked. Elio, okay, I just got back from seeing Elio, and some people might laugh at me for having this on, but this specific group really likes animated films. Of the 6 years that they've had this category, they always nominate at least one for Best Picture. Even Onward got a Best Picture nomination. So did Inside Out 2, Turning Red, Luca. So yeah, hopefully Elio is able to nab its only Best Picture nomination of the season because it is a really great movie. Phoenician Scheme, again, kind of like Mickey 17. It's like it's an acquired taste, but it's Wes Anderson, and I feel like there are going to be just enough people gunning for him. Companion, also a horror movie that got a lot of people talking early in the year, and then I went with F1 for the last slot. I haven't heard very much about this film. It's just coming out now. I actually do have to wrap this up pretty quickly, but Sorry Baby is one that is just on the cusp because it's an indie that a lot of people like, and then 28 Years Later could also happen. I don't know. This is really just a crapshoot, but we'll wait and see what happens. Maybe I'll record another video when the nominations are announced. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Take care.